Members of the press, last week the Prime Minister and Mr. T.O.R. King held a press conference where they unveiled plans for that part of the so-called Pearl of the Caribbean, referred to as Site C in the supplementary agreement. Before we examine what was presented, let us return to our last press conference on DSH. I will share with you copies of our presentation on that day for ease of reference. During that press conference, we appealed to the Prime Minister to be transparent with the people of St. Lucia. It was only because the DSH agreement and supplementary agreement were leaked that we were made aware of the horrendous provisions in the agreements. For example, the agreements required us to give up the George Odlum Stadium and Sandy Beach sites, to allow the developer to hold money earned from CIP in a foreign escrow account, the buyback option, the security of investment clause, the leasing of land for $1 per acre for 99 years, exclusive rights for betting and wagering with no sharing of revenue in St. Lucia, giving away all the productive lands in Vieux-Fort, and exempting the developer from paying all and every tax. The agreement is a bad agreement. It is not in the interest of St. Lucia or St. Lucians. The St. Lucia Labour Party wishes to repeat its rejection of the DSA project under the present terms, conditions, and concept. The Prime Minister, in trying to justify his support for T.O.R. King, presented contradictory details on Phase 1, the racetrack. He said then that Clembob had shown the then Governor General the DCA approval in order that the Prince could participate in the sword-turning ceremony. Then he told Rick Wayne that the developer had just gotten his EIA done and was hoping to receive his DCA approval. Then the Prime Minister presented drawings for Site B, Sandy Beach, which showed that a causeway would be built to Maria Islands and that high-rise hotels and condos will be built along the beachfront. There was vigorous opposition, locally and internationally, to any effort to desecrate our national reserve and beach. To date, the Prime Minister has not informed the people of St. Lucia whether these plans have been withdrawn. The St. Lucia Labour Party, as well as many concerned citizens and groups, have raised major issues about this bad deal made by the UWP. In response, the Prime Minister argued then that the agreements were just a framework and that he had every intention of making them public. He promised to negotiate the agreement phase by phase and that he will inform St. Lucians of the details. To date, we have not heard from the Prime Minister as to whether the horrendous provisions have been removed. St. Lucians want to know the details of the new agreements which he claimed he would negotiate. So last week, a set of drawings and photos were presented for Site C, the area which takes up the back of Belvedere, Bacadere, El Pirata, and Cocodan. We need to state categorically that no new photos and pictures of Site C can compensate for engaging and providing information to the people of St. Lucia in general, and the South in particular, on all the outstanding issues that I mentioned. With these new drawings, rather than answering questions, there are more questions to ask. The Prime Minister announced that the Uranora International Airport is now part of the Pearl of the Caribbean development. This is an alarming and worrying state of affairs which the St. Lucia Labour Party rejects, and we ask all St. Lucians to reflect upon. First, the World Bank IFC managed international tendering process for a public-private partnership which would avoid a massive loan of over $150 million to be repaid by the people of St. Lucia was abandoned by the UWP. Now we are told that our airport is part of Mr. Theo Akin's project. The situation is worsened with the Prime Minister announcing that airport reconstruction will begin by the end of this year. The St. Lucia Labour Party wishes to ask the following questions. Is Mr. Theo Akin involved in the design and construction of the new Uranora International Airport? Will monies collected from the airport tax be used to pay Mr. Akin if he is involved in the design and construction? And thirdly, will Mr. Theo Akin be involved in the management of the airport as part of his DSH project? The Labour Party wants the Prime Minister to clarify whether he has abandoned a World Bank IFC partnership simply to hand Mr. Theo Akin the Uranora International Airport as part of his DSH deal. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow St. Lucians, you may recall that the Prime Minister told us, and it gets even more interesting, told us that Mr. Theo Akin will be providing the money up front to build the racetrack, and that St. Lucia will repay him through the sale of our passports. But the Prime Minister now says that there was a need to lease the land to Mr. Theo Akin so that he can use it as collateral. In other words, we have leased our lands to Theo Akin for him to get a loan to build a racetrack. He then operates a racetrack where he will earn money through betting, wagering, and broadcast rights, and he ought to be able to repay that loan. You will recall that St. Lucia does not get a share of that revenue. However, we will then have to repay Mr. Theo Akin for the money spent on the racetrack by allowing him to sell our passports. So he takes our land, leases it. Well, we lease the land to him, he uses it as a collateral, he gets a loan, he builds a racetrack, he operates a racetrack where he is making money from betting, wagering, and broadcast. We don't get any part of that money. But then we have to repay him for that loan he took through our passport sales. This for us is totally unacceptable. The Prime Minister does not tell us what interest is levied, how long it will take to repay Mr. Theo Akin, how many passports he will be given, or what items are St. Lucia repaying. Then the Prime Minister goes further to declare that the racetrack is not a money-making business. And when it is returned to St. Lucia, a management agreement will be entered into with Mr. Theo Akin to manage and operate the racetrack. The Prime Minister also explains that a racetrack is just the cheese that attracts other investments like hotels that will make the money. The St. Lucia Labour Party wants answers to the following burning questions. If the racetrack does not make money, will we have to further pay Mr. Theo Akin to manage and operate the racetrack? Will taxpayers be paying him to manage it and operate it for us? If the racetrack is the cheese that facilitates other investments, why should St. Lucia repay Mr. Theo Akin for an asset that he will use to attract money-making investments? And three, why should St. Lucians get in return only the part of the investment that does not make money? What about the other investments that make money and which will be built with our CIP monies? The Prime Minister said that subsidizing rice, flour, and sugar for poor people was idiotic. But tell me, isn't this truly idiotic? The Prime Minister announced that work has recommenced on the racetrack and that there are amendments to be made and designs to be refined along the way. And listen to this. Mr. Theo Akin indicated that the racetrack will have temporary facilities for now so that he can start races and bring in investors to see his proposed development. Temporary facilities. The racetrack will be built and he will put temporary facilities to start races and bring down investors to see what he plans to do for the South. And he announced that races will start later this year or in February 2018. This raises some fundamental questions. Has DCA approved the new designs for the horse racing development? Did the Prime Minister attend a DCA meeting sometime last year to personally appeal for the project to be approved? If DCA did not approve the project, then did Cabinet override the DCA and approved it? Who approved it? Is Mr. Theo Akin and Alan Shaste merely using St. Lucia to speculate? Given that our land is given to him as collateral for the racetrack, it is clear that he does not intend to bring in any investment capital of his own and is using our resources and the CIP monies as leverage to finance his DSH project. 3. What will become of the Beausejour to Larichus Road and the Beausejour to Grace Roads, given the new designs for the racetrack? 4. What will become of the St. Jude's Hospital, given the new designs? 5. When will the dump be closed? Is it true that there are 2 locations for the dump are currently being actively considered in Lawitoet, Grace in Beaufort North, or Black Bay in Labrie? Where will it be located? St. Lucians want to know. When will the equine disease-free zone be implemented? How far into Beaufort North, Labrie, and Beaufort South will the area stretch? When will farmers, owners of animals, and residents be sensitized on the implications for their communities and livelihoods? The people of St. Lucia, and especially the South, have expressed concerns, and the Labour Party has asked many questions on the DSH project, but there has been total disregard from the Prime Minister. It is clear that the Prime Minister has no intention of telling the people of St. Lucia exactly what is going on or the exact deal that he has made with Mr. Theo Akin. You will recall that he had written a secret letter to Theo Akin making promises before he had even signed the framework agreement. His approach to governance continues to be arrogant and disdainful of St. Lucians. There is no greater example of this than in the DSH project. There is a simple though misguided thought that flashy photos, glittering drawings, and sweet talk of jobs to come are all St. Lucians need to silence them. There is no commitment on the part of the Prime Minister to provide genuine and sufficient information to address the concerns of our people. There is a constant dismissal of any dissenting view and a constant abuse of our laws and parliamentary procedures. It is evident that the patience and the will of the people of St. Lucian is being tested over and over on this matter. The St. Lucian Labour Party will continue to agitate against this bad deal and repeats its earlier statement that it will use all available actions within the ambits of the law to reverse this bad deal which has been imposed on the people of St. Lucia. Thank you very much.